Welcome to episode 1 of the Placemakers podcast, where I chat with people who shape the physical infrastructure in which we live, work, and play. I am very grateful and honored to have my good friend, Evan Ballmann, joining us for this first episode. So, Evan, just to kick things off, why don't you tell our guests what it is that you do and give us a little bit of background on how you got to where you're at?
Absolutely. Well, I was not aware that this was episode one. So now I have like even more pressure and anxiety related to this. But
No pressure, no pressure.
I'm happy to be part of this, obviously, for a good friend. Glad to be doing this. But yeah, so what I do, I finance commercial real estate properties, mortgage banker work, primarily a focus on apartments, but also do some industrial, hospitality, mixed use, really anything on the commercial side of the business. I help clients get financing for their construction loans, refinances, kind of any stage of the process in the life cycle of a commercial property. And then I guess additionally, really just kind of a connector as well. Have some businesses that I'm involved with where I help connect them with different folks that can help them reach whatever they're trying to do. And really just try and add value where I can with my network.
Awesome, awesome. Why don't you take us back a little bit? Tell us, about where you grew up, all that good stuff, and what inspired you to get into commercial real estate.
Yeah. I'd like to say that it was planned out, but it was not planned out whatsoever. I don't feel like I really knew what I was going to do. I think so. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Have lived in Ohio my entire life, but I had two parents who uh, both worked very hard. My mother is maybe the greatest residential loan officer of all time. I don't say that because she's my mom, but literally, I remember as a kid, there were times that she would be gone before I got up, and she wouldn't get home until after I was in bed because she was literally just that busy. And she had a car phone back then when there cell phones were not a thing. Very few people had car phones, but she was so busy and well known that if she was out of the office for even an hour, she'd come back to 30 messages. So I remember noticing that, and I'm like, wow, that's really neat that my mom is this important, that she has she has to be on the phone all the time because people are wanting to do business with her. I don't even know that I knew a whole lot about it. And then my father was an entrepreneur. He CPA, stockbroker, worked on the original ATM machine program back with NCR in Dayton. So I grew up knowing I would do something. I didn't really know what that was. Some would call it hubris, but I always felt like, okay, I'm going to do something in business. I'll be successful at that. But as to the nuts and bolts of that and what that looked like, I had no clue. Had zero clue where I was going to go or what I was going to do. Um, so that led me really to go to college to get a finance degree. Started out in banking with JP Morgan, US Bank, and then just kind of kept taking additional steps, like doing what was in front of me. And that just sort of led me to each next thing that somehow ended up in me being a mortgage banker where I am today.
Awesome, awesome. And what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced, in particular, I guess, kind of at two phases, both early on in
Yeah.
your career, as you were trying to get into the business, and then you also had a little bit of a reinventing of yourself,
Yeah.
kind of so to speak, about 7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So if you could talk about both those kind of parts of your career and, some of the challenges that you had to overcome to get to where you're at. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I, I had worked for some of the largest financial institutions in the country and even in the world, and did well with that enough that I was moving up. I was making decent money and seemingly had a job that I couldn't lose. I could just continue doing what I was doing and wouldn't get fired, had a pension, would continue to get my inflation adjustments and make a good living. But I realized one day that I never felt more empty and sad. Like I just was not in a good place. Everything in my life at that time was oriented getting to that next step, getting that next title. And what I realized was that with a company that I worked for, you had to work so hard to get to that next step. And the reward at the end of that really wasn't what you expected it would be. It wasn't a significant amount more, a significant increase in money that you made. And it certainly wasn't giving you any greater happiness in your life. Like you were just now taking on more responsibility, having more people that reported to you, and having this higher potential of losing your job. And so I knew I wanted more, but the more in that corporate system in which I was in wasn't all that appealing to me. So there was that realization on the job front, which also led to a realization in my personal life that I'd become this person who was really very like corporate, was very sanitized. Like you didn't know who I was. Like people in my personal life didn't know who I was. People in my business life didn't know who I was because I had learned to be this fake person because I was so concerned about what could impact my job, like my title, what I had, and could ultimately impact my money. So it really was a tough realization, but I was probably 30 or 32. I really just woke up one day and like, this is not what I want. And I don't know that anybody even really knows who I am because I've become so used to just being this fake person that no one could have anything negative to say about, but they also wouldn't know anything about. So it was the biggest challenge ultimately was figuring out like what's next at this point. Who am I and like what do I want? And that set across a major change, which just completely changed every phase of my life.
So, couple questions towards that. So, what can you take us through? I mean, obviously, it had to be a somewhat of a traumatic experience to realize that the path that you were going down
Yeah.
wasn't going to get you where you wanted to be, right? Whether that was professionally, financially, or even just full fulfillment, right, as a human being. So take us back to that moment. What did that feel like, and what was that realization like? And then what steps did you go through, or what was the thought process that led you to the path that you're currently on today?
Yeah. Yeah, it's another thing where I wish could say that there was a ton of thought behind it. It really was a lot of, small steps just over a continuous period of time. So seeing what was in front of me, like, okay, things need to change. I don't necessarily know what that looks like, but it was exploring a lot of different things. It was going to therapy. It was, okay, I need to change like my fitness, what that looks like. It was really being open to a lot of different things. Meditation's been like a huge breakthrough in my life. And it was really, I had a girlfriend at the time who really pushed me as well to open up and actually like be be honest with people about my feelings on things and even just things that were negative about me because I definitely grew up and I think as men, this especially has been, there's been a stigma attached to being vulnerable, like showing things that maybe aren't the best parts of you. So I definitely grew up in an era where, yeah, you don't show weakness like at all. So you become very good at being this fake version. And I associated, I associated those negative aspects with, okay, if somebody hears that I mess something up or I'm not perfect at this or I'm not good at this aspect, well, then they're not going to like me. And that really got challenged. And I was pushed to be more honest in all phases, and it actually did the opposite of what I expected. It deepened existing relationships that I had, and it actually weirdly started creating this situation where now people would come up to me and were now attracted to talking to me because I was an actual, like, honest, like, person that was out there. And so it changed my entire life. Really, the one singular thing that I can say that changed my entire life was actually being myself, good or bad, ugly and different, being myself pretty much all the time. And that set the stage for my life to change in ways that I never expected.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and it's one of the things that I think a lot of us don't realize, especially as we're building our careers and we're focused
Yeah.
on that next promotion, et cetera. You used the word sanitized
Yeah.
earlier, right? And I think that's a great way to put it. We just become a dumbed down kind of
Yeah.
shell of ourselves, and we're doing that, we think, in order to please other people and to provide the most upward mobility for
Sure.
ourselves. But because of that, and because everybody in that environment is so sanitized themselves,
Yeah.
it's those people who are willing to be genuinely themselves who really stand out from the crowd, and who others are naturally attracted to. And
Yeah.
I think your story is obviously a testament to that.
Oh, 100%. There were things, what I will say, another part of that process was, I was in a large organization, very well respected, um, very, very large, Fortune, 100 company. And I saw guys that were 10, 15 years older than I was. And I kind of saw what the future could look like.
Mhm.
And they were very nice people. Like, the people there were good and they were talented. But I saw these people where there were a couple instances of things that came up where I'm like, what is going on here? This is not what I want my future to be. I was peering into my future. And I'll give you a perfect example of something that early on, I'm like, okay, this isn't for me. It was on Mondays, a group of guys would congregate around where my office was, and they would talk about the Ohio State football game from the a couple days before. That's what they did every Monday. And quickly, I'm listening, I'm hearing it in around me, and I start to hear these older guys talking about the game, and they're referencing players that haven't been on Ohio State's team for a while. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, this is just the conversation that they have because it's what they've done for 20 and 30 years. They're completely asleep at the wheel. They don't have any love of this. They don't care about it. It has just become rote. This is just what they do every single week. They have the same job. They take the same vacations. They have the same conversations. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I just can't have that happen. So that was an early realization that, okay, this doesn't work for me.
Absolutely. No, that's funny. So I want to go back to a couple of things that you mentioned, and kind of hit on them one on one,
Yes.
and really understand, the impact that they had on you. So you
Yeah.
mentioned, I think, really kind of four things that as you were going through this transformational process that
Yeah.
you leaned into: therapy,
Mm-hmm.
meditation,
Mm-hmm.
or and
Yes.
then the fourth one, and I forget exactly how you said it, but really comes down to being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And being
Yeah.
open with people about not only your strengths but your weaknesses, what you're struggling with,
Yeah.
etc. I'll let you take those, kind of in whatever order that you want. But if you can just talk us through, you know, integrated those into your life and the
Mm.
changes that you started to notice as you made each one of those a part of who you are and what you do.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is under the banner of honesty, of being your authentic self. That obviously has been more of a push in recent years. And I think by doing that, just better things happen. I hear people talk about, oh, I'm putting on my work hat, or I'm putting on like my personal, like changing hats depending upon where they are. Like you get, and you know this, like, because we've known each other in a professional setting, we've known each other in a personal setting. That hat doesn't change for me. I am who I am regardless of what the setting is, and I think that that helps. Like, you don't have to, like, I can't say this when I'm here, or like, oh, I need to like change this persona depending upon who's in front of me. And it becomes like completely exhausting if that's what you're doing. And that is reality of what was happening to me. It was completely exhausting for me to be going around and having things that were going on that I couldn't talk about, that I didn't feel, um, that I didn't feel would be acceptable. That starts to manifest itself in physical symptoms. So you start to feel fatigue, you start to feel headache, stomach ache. But if you're out there being yourself and people know what they're getting with you, then it's like magically those physical symptoms start to go away, because you aren't wound so tight that, okay, well, if I say this, somebody won't like me. Okay, who cares if those people don't like you? Then they aren't fit for you to be in your life. That doesn't mean you go around and are a bad person to deal with, or, you're not kind to people, but you need to be living your life in a way that is authentic and congruent in all phases with who you are. And it's amazing how that starts to just change your life for the better, and like attract the right people to you. So a lot of that, I learned some of those tools like through therapy, through sitting and talking with a professional, going through full things in my past. And that was helpful. I don't feel that that's something that people should be constantly be mired in. Bad things that may have happened to them. Um, but I do think it can help give you tools to work beyond that, and give you tools to, um, just help when things don't go the way that you want them to go. So you get very oriented in dealing with situations that don't go your way, and get tools, which is super helpful. So went through that and learned that. And again, at the very start of that, I was actually wound so tightly with what I was doing. I paid for all of that out of pocket. I was so like in the wrong space on that. I'm like, I don't even want my employer to find out that I'm going to therapy, because could that be used against me for that next job? Could they be like, well, we can't trust Evan. Evan has to go to therapy. Like, how can we trust him to lead a department or do anything there? Which again was just completely wrong thinking. Actually, therapy helps you to, I think, manage your life better, connect with people in a deeper way, and ultimately be your best version. I feel very strongly about that. So, went through doing that. And then really the third thing would be on kind of the fitness side, which I would put meditation on kind of the mental fitness side. And then obviously physical fitness is pretty clear. Got a plan around that and really just was consistent on, okay, I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes a day. And I'm going to commit to going to the gym 2 times a week, 3 times a week. And the things that you really learn from that, of course, it helps you with your appearance. Like it helps you get stronger. It helps you be more clear-headed in your thinking on the meditation side. But I think the biggest things that both of those practices did for me is it gives you a level of resiliency that helps you throughout your entire life. It was something that I think for a long time, and a lot of people probably feel like, well, that's a vanity thing for you to work out or want to do that. And of course, there's benefits there. But the biggest thing it does for you when you have a workout routine, whatever that may be, or you have a meditation practice, is the resiliency that that brings to your life of orienting you to, okay, I've been through tough things.
Uh-huh.
So I've worked out in the gym. Didn't want to go. Didn't want to go to the gym today, or I'm sore, I'm hurting because of what I did, or I had to sit with my thoughts for 15 minutes this day. You getting past that just then teaches you it teaches you a resiliency that when something hard comes my way, I can handle it. I can manage it. And in fact, I ask for that. I want that. And you'll see that in your life. You'll start now running towards doing in your business life, going after bigger projects, being able to handle things that don't go the way that you want. In your personal relationship, when things don't happen the way you want to, okay, well, we can sit in that. We can figure out the pathway to that. You can handle things that aren't the way you wanted them to go because you've been there before. You practiced it every single day. Every single day, I think about how, man, I have so many things on my plate. I can't sit down here and meditate for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but I'm going to do it. And that just changes your orientation on how you look at doing difficult things.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think for me, and I think fitness for me was kind of the tip of the spear that
Yeah.
led me into whether it was meditation, sauna, but
Yeah.
all of the kind of personal wellness stuff that I do right now. But the biggest, the most, the value that I get out of you know all of those things, the workout, the sauna, the meditation, etc., is exactly what you just said, right? It's knowing that, by 7 o'clock in the morning when I'm finished with my workout and out of the sauna, that
Yeah.
I've done the hardest part of my day is done. There is nothing that is
Absolutely.
going to come up that is going to be more difficult than what I put myself through in that gym and in that sauna,
Yep.
right? And so just teaching yourself that, building that resilience, knowing that you're able to get through the hard things. And then the other part that I really love about fitness as well, and why I think it's so important, is it teaches you how to not only set but also go out and achieve your goals, right? And deal with setbacks, right? Like
Yeah.
there's nobody who's in the gym, 300 days a year or whatever it is, who doesn't deal with some sort of injury or some sort of
Oh,
setback.
yeah.
And as much as my rule now is just whatever you do, make sure you can show up tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are still setbacks that occur, but learning that you can overcome those setbacks, you can overcome those challenges, and maybe the goal you set out to achieve won't happen necessarily on the timeline
Yep.
that you predetermine, because at the end of the day it's not up to us. It's up to a higher power to determine
Yeah.
when those blessings are given to us. But if you stay with it, if you stay disciplined, if you stay committed, if you get back in that gym every day, you will get there. You will get there.
Yes.
So I guess going back to the therapy, was meditation, and well, I guess first, is therapy still a part of your life and a part of your routine?
It is not. It was never. It was never a full. It was never something that I expected was going to be a full-time thing for me.
Mhm.
It was. It was very helpful in that specific moment, and it provided me with tools that I utilize today. Um, it definitely taught me how to really look at with depth why I was doing things, why other people were doing things. I think very early on in my life, things were very black and white for me, down to, I thought I was going to be a lawyer when I was a kid for a long time. So things were very black and white. I was a kid that argued a lot, just like, and just relentless, would be relentless. I definitely irritated definitely my mom. My mom, like, I very much irritated with that. And I think when I was younger, I felt things were very black and white, and I would respond to a lot of things in a very black and white response. And therapy definitely taught me, like, oh no, you need to look deeper. Like, someone who's responding back to them in anger sends you on a loop that doesn't help anybody. And the fact of the matter is when someone's responding in anger to something, that's probably actually comes from some level of hurt, and maybe even something that's not even to do with you. So it's not something that's worth taking personally. And here are some tools to maybe figure out, because you do this with yourself, of like figuring out, okay, where does that come from? If that's somebody that you care about, if it's somebody who's just on the street who you don't know, like, okay, it can teach you to just not take that personally, and you don't need to spend or waste any time of your day on it. But if it's someone you care about, hopefully that can help you to actually deepen that connection, as opposed to burning that bridge or, damaging that relationship, which I definitely spent a lot of time doing that early on in my life, of like, wow, I'll just take a torch to this because I'm so black and white. I'm so rigid. Like, you're doing something I don't like, which means that this is the type of person you are, and this won't work for me. When it's like, okay, no, let's ask the right questions, let's dig deeper, to kind of understand that. And, I certainly would go back to therapy if there were things that I felt that I needed. But for me, it really just provided me with a lot of tools that help me in all phases of my life on a daily basis, from actually going through that.
Wonderful. So you mentioned one of those tools being understanding responses in anger, whether that's coming from yourself or coming from other people. What are some of those other tools that you took away from therapy that have stuck with you and that you use, whether that's on a daily basis as needed,
Yeah.
et cetera. But what are some of those tools that you took with you?
I think a lot of it, one thing I would say I definitely took from it was looking at another person's viewpoint. I think, especially when I was younger, it was so oriented around where I wanted to go, what I needed, how I felt. And, some of that was very helpful for me in my career, that I just had like an uber focus on, I'm going to find a way to like get this done. And I don't care about anything else. I don't care what anybody says to me. I'm just focused on that singular goal. That can work if you're in business, depending upon what your job is. You can just apply brute force to, I'm just going to continue to work until I get where I'm going. It doesn't work as well at times in personal relationships. And even I would say, as you move up in business, you can't just be oriented to, I will out hustle people. I will have just this singular mindset, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. Um, it taught me to, okay, what is this other person on the other end? If that's a personal relationship or in a business setting, where are they coming from? Like, if I'm sitting in their shoes, what are they thinking about? What are their goals? What are their aims? What's their background? Like you really start to just think through those things that I really wasn't doing when I was younger, and therapy really helped a lot, which I think I bring. That's a big part. I mean, you know this in doing what you do, you have to really think, okay, who are the parties involved here and what's their aim and what's their motivating factors? If you're able to do that and sit in their shoes as a broker, that helps you immensely. If I know, okay, here's if I was sitting in your shoes, what I would be thinking. And here's maybe some of the things you bring into a situation that I need to keep in mind. That's immensely helpful because people don't necessarily, well, I won't say people don't necessarily, people rarely give you the full reasons that they have in their mind. Sometimes they don't even know of why they do things or what their aims are. And if you can put yourself in that position, it helps you immensely, no matter what area it is. That was a big thing that I think therapy helped with.
I mean, and I'll tell you once again, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, and that's something that, I've struggled with myself personally. I think like a lot of driven type A people, you have an idea set out
Yeah.
about what you want to do, how you want to accomplish it, and you get tunnel vision, right?
Yeah.
As you're pursuing whatever that is, and you stop realizing that um or maybe it just becomes, it falls to the back of the mind that whatever you're doing isn't just about you or, Alec's
Yeah.
goals or Evan's goals or whatever it is. Life, human life in particular, is all based on relationships, right? And understanding
Yeah.
those dynamics between others. And the more that I have been able to put myself in other people's shoes, so to speak,
Yeah.
whether that's in a business perspective, whether that's in my relationship with my wife, really doesn't matter. The more that I have been able to try to view myself
Yeah.
from the other's perspective,
Yeah.
one, it can often be very revealing in a not so great way, right?
Yeah.
Because you realize maybe some of the negative characteristics about how you're carrying yourself and how you might be presenting yourself to the world around you. And then having that outsider's perspective allows you, I think, to reframe that in a really meaningful way
Yeah.
and just understand, like, I was watching myself as a movie, or if I was watching myself from the perspective of, I kind of jokingly say all the time, if Mark Wahlberg was playing me in a movie,
Sure.
like, how would he be handling this situation? What would he be doing? And as
That is a good hack.
as silly as that is, it really is a great hack, and it allows me to take myself and take those kind of blinders off, so to speak,
Yep.
and allow me to view myself from another's perspective and really be the observer of my own life and not just be so stuck in whatever the whirlwind is of
Yeah.
whatever the situation that I'm dealing with. So and once again, that's something that, I continue to struggle with to this day. And I'm very thankful to my wife because, she's one of the many people in my life who, when I do get those kind of blinders on and I get into tunnel vision and
Absolutely.
maybe I'm not showing up, whether that's in the moment or even over an extended period of time,
Yeah.
as the person that she knows I'm capable of being and the person that I want to be. Um, she's there to, kind of pinch me, so to speak, and break me out of that tunnel vision and that kind of dream state, and
Yeah.
remind myself to broaden the viewpoint a little bit. And how does this look to the people around you? Once again, as you said, to the extent that you can do that in business and understand how the people sitting across the table from you are viewing you, what is their thought process going into the situation, what are their goals that they're looking to achieve, what are their hesitations, their concerns, whether they realize them or not, right? And
Yeah.
I think oftentimes they don't necessarily, But
Yep.
to the extent that you can put yourself in that position, you're only going to have more success. And that's really driven by having better relationships and better interactions with
Yeah.
those people that you're interfacing with, right?
Well, and we're in such a business, and both of us were definitely more driven towards the logical side of the coin, and doing what the businesses that we're involved in. You do feel like, oh, well, everything's just going to go down to logic. Everything's just going to go down to money, which to a certain extent, that's very true.
Hmm.
That's a large part of our business. You can kind of follow the dollars and say, okay, this is what somebody's going to do. But the reality is, people still don't always operate off of logic. So, knowing some of the other pieces to someone's personality, knowing their background is something that is very helpful. And I think for a long time, again, I felt and had this stupid assumption that I can just lay out a case like this is like we're in a courtroom, and I will just have all the facts and like can argue with that with the best of people. Tried to do that in my personal life, tried to do that in my business life. And the reality is like it does not get people to want to work with you. It sometimes does the absolute opposite. This is not, it may work in a courtroom, but the fact of the matter is in our personal life and in our businesses, it's the people business, and how someone feels and the things that their past experiences that they bring into situations are deeply important and give you a good idea of what they're going to do in the future. And working with that so folks can feel like they've won, like everybody's winning, is always should be the ultimate goal. That you want to see people meet their goals, meet their aims. And if you can figure out how to do that, good things can happen.
Absolutely. I had a conversation with a young gentleman earlier this morning who recently got into the business. And one of the things, and it's funny saying this as we're obviously doing this interview virtually right now, but I think one of the detriments of what came out of COVID and the
Mm.
normalization of video calls and video meetings is that we lost the kind of small talk component, so to speak, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody comes on and I'm going to give you my quick, rational 30 minutes or whatever, and then I'm on to the next meeting. And what we lost, I think, is the some of the ability. It's obviously different with you and I. We've known each other for a long time, so we already have
Yeah.
that connection. But that ability to establish genuine connection with others. And what this young man asked me earlier today is, he's in a business development role for the first time in his life. I don't think somebody who's naturally a networker or really just
Yeah.
never necessarily had much of a reason to be, and neither of his parents were either. And he was asking me for advice. And the advice I gave him was, be genuinely interested in other
Yes.
people and in their stories. Whether that's, the trash collector or the president of the
Yeah.
United States, doesn't matter. That person has lived a life, and through those life has experiences that, one, are probably just interesting, and there's a
Yeah.
story to be told there, but two, that you can learn from. And if you approach every interaction that you have, regardless of who the person is, with genuine interest, genuine respect, you're going to make a hell of a lot of friends doing that.
Absolutely.
And in our business, and I think this is true in any business, all things else being equal, people choose to do business with their friends, right?
Absolutely.
So the extent that I'm a big believer that you got to hold all things else equal, right? You do have to have
Yeah.
the rational reasoning, so to
Yeah.
speak. The numbers got to check out. You got to be able to deliver on service, all of that stuff. But to the extent that you can do that and also develop genuine, meaningful relationships with people, that's going to be a huge differentiator, especially in today's world where so much of our interaction, networking, relationship building is in this virtual which I think forces
Yeah,
a more transactional kind of interaction.
100%. Yeah, I tell younger people this in general because it was it's how I knew I was changing and I had changed. Like if you are new in this business, in our business or any business in general, actually, but definitely in sales, go someplace, go eat dinner by yourself. Go to some restaurant, sit at the bar by yourself. Sit there and eat and do that. Keep doing that because what that will force you to do is people will talk to you because
Mhm.
people will see like, okay, this person's by themselves. They're usually very interested in like, why is this person by themselves? Are they here from out of town? Like what's going on with them? Like you're naturally more interesting if you're somebody who's solo because most people don't do that. And what it forces you then to do is like, okay, how do I describe myself to somebody who I don't know? So you get then very good at what it is that you say you do. You then learn how to connect with people who are complete strangers who don't know your title, don't know like what you can do for them. It forces you to really like do that on a quick turnaround because this dinner's going to be over, like people are going to leave. You really just learn how to do that. And I knew I knew I had changed as a person and I was now an authentic person when I started doing that. And I started meeting very interesting people who become very good friends of mine, who had just were in proximity to me, like at one point at, some restaurant like 10 years ago. And then weirdly, things started to shift where I wasn't the one really maybe striking up a conversation with somebody. Then it was like just people talking to me, and so it's still even something that I'll do now because it's a good way for me to make sure that I'm meeting people outside of my circle. And you continue to just get very sharp at creating connections with people in short spurts of time, which is hugely beneficial if you're in the sales business. But I would say it's usually beneficial throughout for anybody throughout their life is to be able
Absolutely.
to connect with strangers very quickly. Now I feel comfortable in any
Yeah.
room I'm in,
I'll
feel
tell you
comfortable.
that's one of the things that I'm most grateful for having grown up working in restaurants
Oh yeah. Yeah.
is especially at a place like, Rusty Bucket Bexley where
Yeah.
I, spent most of my time working as a kid. Got to be able to work with the dishwasher who's making
Yep.
minimum wage and barely speaks English, and you got to learn how to interact with them and establish camaraderie and rapport with them, all the way up to the random billionaire who happened to walk in the door with his family for dinner, right?
Yeah.
And it is something that it takes reps, right? And once again, I would highly advise
Absolutely.
to anybody, especially I think the younger generation who is looking to develop their interpersonal skills, whether it's
Hmm.
doing exactly what you just said, just going out and sitting at the bar and eating alone and interacting with whoever's around you, or get a job in the service industry where you're
Yes.
going to kind of be
Yeah.
forced to do that. But at the end of the day, the result is the same. It's that establishing a level of comfort and interacting with whoever's in the room. And I think one of the things that once again that I'm really grateful for from having that experience is you realize that maybe I'm not going to word this as well as I would like to, but people are just people, right?
Right.
And it doesn't matter once again if that's the dishwasher or the billionaire who came in for dinner. Everybody has at the end of the day the same, kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We all have the same needs, desires, etc. to one extent or another. And once you can start just interacting with people as people and not whatever our preconception of
Yep.
that person is or of the situation is, I think that's where those breakthroughs and where the opportunity to develop real meaningful relationships comes from.
Yes. Yeah, I there's one thing I definitely learned from my mom that is just universally true. My mother, I remember as a kid, like it was a joke that anywhere we went, she would run into somebody that she knew. She would run into a former customer of hers and immediately she remembered who they were. And she was doing big volume. I mean, she was doing maybe 100, 200 loans a year, just massive numbers of people that she was working with, but she never forgot them. So she'd see him somewhere and I would see these interactions she would have where she would go up and talk to them. And I could tell that these people did not remember her, but she remembered them. Something that was like more insignificant to her, more significant to them, that, you know, closing on their home loan. She did this stuff all the time, but that she would remember, and she would remember these like secondary details of your birthday's on this and your friend's that. And it wasn't that she was pandering. It wasn't that she was playing a trick to, you know, to get them to feel like she cared about them. She literally remembered those things. And when you say that to somebody, when you show that to somebody, everybody feels good about that.
Yeah.
If they feel like you genuinely see them, know them, care about them, that universally works with everybody. And you can only do that if you get some reps at it, if you feel comfortable in your own skin, like you actually genuinely are trying to connect with people, that people love that.
Do you think that you ending up in the mortgage banking world was in some way due to, you know, admiration? You've spoke highly of
Yeah.
both of your parents, but you've brought your
Yeah.
mom up a lot in this conversation. Do you think her influence on you had a role in you ending up where you are today?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely both my parents. I mean, I realize that they instilled a work ethic. Like by example, I saw the way that they worked. I also saw them doing things that other people wouldn't do, like taking risks that other people wouldn't take. And that definitely played a big factor on me choosing to do what I do now. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So yeah, I mean, I owe so much to them and the example that they provided to me. Like it's not by accident that I've done what I've done.
Awesome. All right, we're coming up on an hour here. I want to be
Yeah.
respectful of your time. We got a little over 5 minutes left. I want to do a little bit of you know, kind of just a quick lightning round. There's a few
Okay.
additional
Love it.
questions
Yeah.
that we'll kind of try to take it back to commercial real estate a little bit as well. This conversation, I mean, neither of us knew where this is going to go, and I love the direction that the conversation went. But
Yeah.
we'll take it back a little bit to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the questions I don't feel the need to ask it anymore was going to be who were some of your mentors and what did you learn from them? You've spent so much time talking about
Yeah.
your parents that I feel like that probably would have been your answer, and
Yeah.
we got that out of it. So where do you see Evan Ballmann being 5 years from now?
I think 5 years from now, um, I'd see myself hopefully just providing even more value to folks. Um, I I want to do like more and more and just continue to find like ways to help people and hopefully that's expanding the number of people that I'm able to help. So I don't know that I have specific goals in mind from that respect other than just being able to do more of that than I'm doing today.
Kind of follow-up question to that
Yep.
based on that answer, and maybe parts of it were, you know, parts of the answer to this question were embedded in your last response, but what is your why?
My why is my family and my friends. I feel like every time I go out into the world, I'm not just representing myself.
Mm.
I'm representing my parents, I'm representing my sister, I'm representing my grandparents and all that they sacrificed for me. And I'm representing you and the companies that I work for. So I can't go out and cheat. the people who look up to me, the people who have sacrificed for me. So that means um, I'm not going to do anything but hustle every single day and give 100% of what it is that I can give to the world.
Truly out of service to others.
Yes.
Love that. What are you working on right now that you're most excited about?
I am most excited about a lot of different things, which is a beautiful thing. I feel like every single day, I don't know where things are going to go. We had a great conversation today on some things that you and I are working on that I legitimately get excited every day because I don't know what it's going to be. And then I would say specifically, I've thankfully through accident or whatever it may be, have so many opportunities to work with people that are my friends and that I deeply respect. And so I'm excited every day to get to work alongside friends of mine and people who I look up to, like yourself. Like that's exactly what I feel lucky for every day and what I'm excited about.
I love it, and I appreciate that. Just keep building cool shit with cool people, right?
Absolutely,
That's
100%.
that's what it's all about.
100%.
What? Sorry, let me just read here. What has changed in your business or in your industry in the past 12 months?
Well, interest rates obviously are the hottest topic and have been for the last 3 years. But the biggest thing is AI. Everybody talks about it. It's a little bit become maybe slightly trite in some circumstances, like AI is gonna disrupt this and disrupt that. But the reality is that within our industry, from what I've seen, there are truly now tools that are out there that everybody's utilizing that are helping them just be smarter, better, faster with what they're doing. And me, like everybody else, needs to be utilizing those to the fullest extent that you can, or you're going to fall behind. And that I think is the biggest story right now, beyond interest rates, which are always the story for this industry. It's what is AI going to do? How can you utilize that? How can you be better, faster, smarter every single day because of those tools?
Is there an AI tool in particular that you're leaning on a lot right now or that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, it's Chat GPT for sure. Like doing more and more things with that, learning how to utilize it even better is the basis for a lot of what I do. But there's a lot of other people actually. You shared an app with me that I utilize all the time now in granola
Great
that
app.
I have been amazed at how good it is at summarizing meetings and then identifying who individual people who are talking, even if you don't tell it who it is, and then laying out action steps that everybody needs to do at the end of it. I've been blown away at how good that app is at summarizing a meeting in just a succinct and powerful way.
Yeah, shout out to John Slemp for introducing me to granola. But it's
It is
that I
good.
mean that app changed my entire workflow. You know how I was taking meetings, getting stuff into my CRM, et cetera.
Yeah,
Literally within a day of using it, it totally changed my workflow. Which is
yeah,
yeah, just
absolutely.
just goes to your point and shows the impact of AI and how it's impacting our business. All right, I got two last questions for you here.
Love it.
If you could give somebody who's young, just starting in the business, or maybe even somebody who was kind of in a similar position to where you were, 7 years ago or whatever it was that
Yeah.
when you were going through that transition, what advice would you share with them?
I would definitely share with them to not take shortcuts, really put in the time to build your business the right way. Number one. Number two, you can't have too good of a network. So do whatever you can to create a network, to build those relationships around you. Even if they don't pay off right away, they will. They will over time. And I think too much in this industry, it can be transactional. And it's really just a reminder, as always, that relationships are the foundation of everything we do, especially as AI is coming. They're going to become even more important. Like the AI, everybody will be utilizing that, but the true people who are going to succeed and continue to work in this business are folks that can actually provide value and have deep relationships. Um, I truly believe that.
One of my kind of mottos right now is, and I'll go back to something else you said in there as well
Yeah.
here in a second, but I think AI is going to make the best better and the rest obsolete, right?
Yep.
The
Yeah.
only thing that the only real value that we will have once, as AI continues to develop is that the interpersonal relationships and our ability to make that speak through, the
Yeah.
transaction side of the business, which is only going to get more and more automated and
Yep.
more commoditized, right? And then you also said, building that network, and if it doesn't pay off now, it will at some point in the future. That was the other piece of advice I gave this young gentleman this morning was, when you go into a meeting or, just like the meeting that I had with him, go into it with absolutely zero expectations
Yes.
of anything coming out of it, right? And I think that's the best way, first and foremost, to put a squash on the transactional kind of
Yes.
oriented mindset. If you go into it expecting some sort of payoff for it, one, you're
Yeah.
you're just going to be frustrated if that doesn't
Yes.
exist, and you're going to probably not be interested in developing that genuine relationship that
Yes.
might result down the road in there actually being something of value there, because you never
Yes.
know where someone's going to go, where they're going to land, who they're going to be 5, 10 years down the road, right?
Yes.
And once again, that's not necessarily a reason to um a reason to pretend to have interest with people,
Sure.
but it is a reason to have genuine interest in people,
Yes.
right? And just support them and helping them grow into to add value to whatever it is that they're doing.
Yep. Yeah. One of the most impactful things that I've done in my entire life, definitely within the last 5 years, was 2 years ago. I was having dinner with a friend of mine, different industry. Actually met him through an industry. A friend of mine introduced us, just felt like we would get along. I was having dinner with him and I said to him that, I know a lot of good people in my life and they don't know each other. Wouldn't it be cool? Why don't we invite some of those people to get dinner together? We had 10 people who did that the first time. And immediately the folks that were there were like, what is this? We should do this again. So I was like, well, I could do this next month and get a reservation somewhere. It's pretty easy to get reservation in town. Now 2 years later, that group totals about 50 people. It has allowed me to meet people that I never would have expected. It's created business opportunities and folks that I'm working with on things that I never would have imagined. And it's helped my business in ways that I never could have paid for. The marketing that I get from folks that I never had any intention. There was no business aspect behind it. There was no, this will make me a better person. There was nothing. It was, let's try this out and get some good people together and good things will happen. And it's gone beyond my wildest dreams and helped me in so many different ways than I ever could have expected.
Well, I will tell you, as somebody who's had the benefit in being in some of those dinners and some of those rooms, I think it is absolutely a testament to you and your character, the type of people who have chosen to surround themselves with you and to be in that room. And I don't think you should take that lightly, because there's a lot of other people who, if they asked a bunch of random people to show up to dinner. I mean, you sent out a text, I think, the other day to the group
Yeah.
for, an event, 12 days from now or whatever it
Yeah.
is, and the response was almost unanimous, right? And this isn't people who don't have other things on their schedule,
Yeah.
right? This is people who are choosing to move around whatever it is they have going on in their lives, wife, family, business, whatever that is, in order to get in that room and to be with the people that are gravitating around you. So that's I think a huge testament and reflection of your character and the type of person that you are.
Well, it's something that I'm more proud of than anything is the collection of people that are in that room. And very happy to have you be a part of that as well, because you completely exemplify that. But it's is truly one of the happiest things and most proud I am is of that collective group. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, as you should be, as you should be. All right, last question for you here, and then we'll let you go. I'm not sure how big our audience is yet, with this being the first podcast episode, but I am confident that as long as we continue to have great conversations with great people like
Yeah,
yourself, that audience is only going to continue to grow. So if you had to speak directly to our audience, or actually not even speak, I want this to be all about you right
yeah.
now. How can our audience help Evan Ballmann achieve whatever it is that you're looking to achieve, whatever goals you have?
I think it's connection. I mean, we talk a lot about it. It's relationship is like anybody who wants to reach out, who wants to connect. I'm happy to do it. I want to do it. That's truly drives me of having true connection with people, and seeing what beautiful things that we can do together because I don't think it's all like planned out. And you truly, some of the best things come from just a good connection where you have two people or more looking to move towards a bigger goal, which is not ourselves. It's, the group, it's the collective, it's the broader like world.
Wonderful. I love it. Evan, I appreciate you, brother. I love you.
As
If
well,
you
my friend.
do me a favor, just hold. We'll stop our recording here in a minute,
Yeah,
but if you can just stick around for 30 seconds, just have a couple of housekeeping items for you as
yeah,
soon as we hop off. But I genuinely appreciate you and love you, brother. And I look forward to doing this again with you very
yeah.
soon.
Love you too, my friend. I appreciate it.
Wonderful.